keep walking, then we're not causing trouble. We have a right to move along the road, and that's what we'll attempt to do. If they will not let us do that, if they take us off from the center of the road, then what we can do is walk along the side the way we did with the evacuation march, because they can't stop us from walking along the side of the road. That's for sure. And it's unlikely, as Tom has said, that if we're moving, that they will want to stop and take us off the road. They'll be much happier if we're moving just to keep moving behind us and accept it. That's what happened up in Monroe with them. They finally accepted we were in front of them and they just let us go. But what we'll just start doing is moving along the road when we see them on the side and then move into the center of the road.
And if you don't want to be arrested, you should.
None of us are looking to be arrested. If someone's looking to be arrested, they'll stay in the road. But that's not what we're advocating.
Like you should really stay that way if you don't want to be arrested. If there's any chance.
If there's any chance, at the beginning, there's not going to be that. If they really won't let us be there, then anyone who wants to be arrested will stay in the road. Everyone else will just move to the side and go up the side. But what we want to attempt to do is stay in front of them on the road and slow them down and make this a funeral march with them behind us. That's the work of it. That's what we've done before, and we'll attempt it again.
Yay to our heroes! Yay! Bicycle power against the nukes! Bicycle power against the nukes! Yay, our heroes! Thank you, heroes! True patriots of the world!
Alright, and so here's a kryptonite bike lock. This is often, commonly used for locking down in actions because it's harder to cut off than most other locks. You usually have to get a power drill, come in. You can't just cut it with bolt cutters or a hacksaw or anything like that. But also, though it's better, it's a little bit more complicated to use than just a regular old chain. So, first thing is you want to do is practice just opening and shutting the lock a couple times because they all open differently and they have different glitches. So with this one, you put it in, you have to match up a groove inside. I don't know if you can zoom in or not, but there's like a little lip on the key and a little lip inside that you gotta put the groove into. And once you do that, see a little tricky, you want to push it in and turn it to the right, unlocking the lock. Now with these locks, one of the things that's complicated about them is you can see that there's two holes and two prongs. One way they fit, one way they don't, okay? So one way that you can always make sure that you're going to put the correct groove in the correct notch is to tape one side, both parts as they come apart. So there's one. And here's the other. So you always know when you're taking this apart that this side fits into this side. So you're always going to get it quick and on the first time. And you just lock it like that. Okay, and because of the difficulty of putting the key into the groove, another good thing to always do is you just leave the key actually into the lock. because you're not going to have a lot of time to get it right. So, you know, you have a spot you would have to run to lock onto. With these, I guess you'd usually put it around somebody's ankles. You probably have three people, two of these, lock your ankles together, and just, if you carry it with the key in the lock, you don't have to fuss with the key, so you can just run up, you know, go down, you see, put one groove there, one there, and then you lock it, and you take the key out, and then you have a key. You can either at that point throw the key away if you are just going to definitely have them cut the lock off. You don't need the key at all. You can just throw it. You can hide it on your person somewhere. Oops, you don't drop it. Or there might be a support person there that you can give the key to if you know that you're going to have to unlock the lock instead of having them cut it off somewhere. But that's the fastest way to lock your kryptonite lock.
There's a pending Nuclear Regulatory Commission investigation as to whether or not they have overexposed the workers in the course of the decommissioning. We contend that they have. While that is under investigation, they are not allowed to do any more of the decommissioning because there is the presumption that they may have screwed it up so far, so they can't. Should that case be decided, they can, should it be decided in their favor, they can certainly start moving again. Should it be decided in our favor, the NRC will take some action. We say, basically, revoke their license, but they could also take an action that involves allowing them to continue moving anyway, because they're the NRC and they're not really very answerable. I mean, it takes 2 years of a court fight just to get them to think about, investigating what we were trying to get them to investigate. So they could conclude, even in the face of, clear evidence that the workers were overexposed, the NRC could still conclude that it's okay. That's their prerogative.
And what exactly is this thing that's going to go into this?
What the march was around was the vessel head, which is the thing you keep the fuel rods in. And it's enormously radioactive because it's been right near to the fuel rods, every succeeding generation of fuel rods for the lifetime of the plant. It is, I believe, 4,500 curies of radioactivity, and there's about 1,400 curies of more radioactivity in sludge and gunk that's inside it. And that is quite a lot. Now the cask, or the vessel head itself, is an enormous thing. It's, I think, 180 tons, I don't really recall. The truck, cask, and vessel head assembly as one item is more than 500 tons. Though that doesn't have to go very far. The cask and the vessel together is about 300, a little more than that, and that's going to South Carolina. Now, some of the problems with that, well, the main problem with that, obviously, is that they're shipping it to South Carolina. Taking it off the plant puts the liability in the hands of the taxpayers. The other problem is, by doing it quickly and by not testing to see if there was any wear and tear and what kind of damage was done to the vessel head in almost 30 years of operation, they are disallowing us the possibility of finding out whether there is, sufficient wear and tear on them to warrant not, running a plant that long and to warrant shutting down plants. The vessel head in the Vernon reactor has a circumferential crack around 11/12 of the circumference of the vessel. Now, that's obviously a problem, and that's something that we know about, but we don't know this is a really good chance to actually examine one of these things now that it's done, and we're not going to be allowed to do that if they ship it down to South Carolina. And since they own a bunch of other nuclear power plants, and they don't want us to do that, we wonder what's up with the vessels in the other nuclear power plants that they own.
So how long can we expect the radiation that's in this thing to last?
Look, if they left it there on site for 30 years, a lot of the radiation would decay out and it would be moved without having to have worker exposures the way they are, or without creating a cast that's like this to take it in. Because the major radionuclides that are released for decommissioning are cobalt-60, which has a half-life of 5.5 years, and cesium-137, which has a half-life of 30 years. So if you leave it for 30 years, much of the radiation is going to decay out. But they need to strip this and get it out and get themselves out of row as quickly as they can, because they want to protect their shareholders. They don't give a damn about the ratepayers. They don't give a damn about the community. They've released at least 75 releases into the Deerfield River to allow them to cut this reactor up, and they'll have more releases cutting the vessel out. And it's unacceptable that they should be able to contaminate our community and our river to make a profit. It's not acceptable to make or produce something that creates waste that you don't know how to deal with. That you have to find a solution to the waste before you begin to produce it and make it. And that's a whole new idea in the world. Because until now, the idea of dumping in rivers or putting it out into the air, it was no big deal. And this is no longer acceptable. It's a very big deal, and no one should make a profit by polluting a community.
Millions of years this garbage has got to live. We're going to ask your grandchildren, my grandchildren, their children to, take out the garbage.
A lot of the concern that's been voiced up here so far has been about whether the actual weight would do damage to the roads, but a bigger concern is whether the whole process is going to do damage to the people who live in South Carolina.
Well, he's doing what he can, bro. He's just going to shake his head
Already
and go back.
irradiated for a generation.
Leave the waste where it is. It's already contaminated. It will never be a green field, as it says on the side of that cast.
Yeah,
it will
that truck
always
is
be
kind
a
of a
contaminated
joke.
site.
Yay to our heroes! Yay!
Canada's organization that sued them, and they basically need to raise $40,000 for the next court case because Yankee appealed it. The only way they could possibly lose pretty much is if they don't have the money to pay for the lawyer. So it's a completely tax-deductible donation. It's non-profit. Nobody in the organization gets paid to do any of this work. I volunteer to come out and do it today. We're asking people to just help out with what we can. Anything. And you can write the check out directly to CAN, the Citizens Awareness Network. And we're registered with the police. Totally legit. Can you help us out with anything?
Okay. All right. I got to check with you, okay?
Thank you very much.
Citizens group, it is, they are always marked as these Gandhian cranks or these whatever, whoever, we are always. So they will be always said, oh, these people, they are not scientists. These people, they are not. So about your methodology, you have to be very careful.